So what do you know what happened in Milwaukee?
You are Locked On Spurs, your daily San Antonio Spurs podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, welcome back to Locked On Spurs. We're in the Locked On NBA Network. I'm your host, Jeff Garcia, Spurs writer for Kansas City, San Antonio. Glad to have you all back. And happy Thursday, everybody. Well, at least I hope you're happy after last night debacle in Milwaukee. We'll be talking about that in just a few minutes. As always, you can follow Locked On Spurs wherever you get your favorite podcast. iTunes, Spotify, Kansas Plus app, YouTube. You know where to go. Also, check out the Locked On Spurs newsletter. It's on the link in the description below on the YouTube side of things. Click on that. It is completely free. Go sign up right now. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. What are we talking about today? We're going to be looking back at last night's loss in Milwaukee. Spurs took one on the chin, and boy, did they. Losing to the Bucks 121-105. Now, we're not going to go into detail exactly what happened. We're going to be picking out kind of the main overarching theme why the Spurs lost, and that is on the offensive end. Offensively, they could not generate anything at all. When you have Chris Paul, again, trying to rally the troops, that's not a good sign. No knock on Chris, but this is not his team. This is Wemby's. This is Castle. This is the young guy's team. You know, they should be stepping up. So we'll be looking at the offensive side of things. What happened? What was a total collapse? And then to round out the show, well, kind of like vent and other aspects of the Spurs and what's been ailing them in a 3-game losing skid. You heard that right. 3-game losing skid heading into the next game versus the Lakers. Going to bring in our guest. He is Raul Dominguez of the AP Sports. Follow him on next side, Dominguez Cinco, the under the weather. Raul Dominguez. Hope you're feeling better, buddy.
Yeah, hopefully it's nothing serious. Just you know, get old. You can't get rid of that cold.
Yeah, I'm not. I know you're older than me, but I know if I've aged, I'm like, oh my god, I can't bounce back fast like I used to. I remember when I would get sick 2-3 days the most, and I'm like, all right, let's party, let's rock and roll. Now I'm like, I need 2 weeks, everybody. I need 2 weeks to recover from this. But Raul, we hope you get better. But maybe you and the Spurs definitely share something. Y'all are both sick right now. Seriously, there's something wrong with you. Hopefully you get better, but I'm hoping the Spurs will get better. Raul, let's dive into this. The Spurs again losing to the Bucks 121-105. The largest deficit for the Spurs was 20 plus points. I think it was 26 points at one point. And it really came down to, shocker, everybody, making shots. Raul, you and I were texting during the game. You brought up something interesting about chemistry, but not necessarily off the court or on the court, just on one end of the court, that being the offense. What did you see went wrong for the Spurs against the Bucks?
Early on, it seemed like they were, because I know, like around, when training camp started and the first preseason games, the first few games of the season, they were talking about, how much they had worked on their ball movement and sharing the ball. And you could tell that they were excited about that. And they were trying to bring that more into, sort of the way they play the game and into the regular season. Last few games, I'm not seeing that as much. I'm not seeing as much of the ball movement. Seems like they're sort of regressing back to the team that, one pass, then the guy drives it in, no matter how many guys are in the lane, no matter, who's defending you. Like, it's like, okay, I got the ball, I'm going to shoot it regardless of what defense I'm seeing, rather than, they were playing well. They were moving the ball around. Even if somebody had a good shot, that they pass it up for, a greater shot.
Mm-hmm.
But here lately, it's a lot of one-on-ones, a lot of really tough shots. A lot of, one guy driving to the basket and there's, 2 or 3 defenders around and there's no teammates to rebound. If the shot is missed or, to pass off to, if they're in trouble. And I'm not singling out Keldon, but they're late in the fourth quarter, but they were starting to make a little bit of a run. By the way, you had mentioned about Chris Paul. I think Chris Paul had made a couple of threes, I think.
Yeah, he did.
And then Victor handed the ball off to Keldon. He dribbled up the court. He handed the ball off to Keldon, and Keldon went straight to the basket. And, the other guys were on the 3-point line. I don't think there was nobody underneath the rim, but Keldon went straight to the because he was on the left side. He went straight to the right side of the rim. Someone was guarding him, and he missed the shot. It was a really heavily contested layup, and he missed a shot. And I'm just thinking, like, again, not just thinking about Kevin, I'm just like Keldon. But, I was looking at it as like, pass the ball, some ball movement. It would just first seem like as soon as he got the ball, it's like, okay, hey, I'm gonna take it, I'm gonna score. Rather than trying to make it, trying to get the best shot as a team. And I'm seeing a lot of that, and I'm not sure exactly why that is.
Yeah. Next segment, I'm going to bring up what I thought went wrong with the Spurs, or just what's been worrying for me with giving them woes. But going back to the offensive side of things, for the game, they shot 36%. All right, so let's break it down. Keldon Johnson, I'm going to not put him in this group right now. He did all he could do, as did Chris Paul. But Devin Vassell, 4 for 17 for 23% shooting for the night. Steph Castle, 2 for 12, 16%. You got Trey Jones, 1 for 2, 50%. Didn't really take that many shots. Julian Champagnie, 3 for 11, 27%. And Victor, 4 for 10, 40%. Victor had a double-double, 10 and 10, but he definitely was not the Victor Wembanyama we've seen of late, putting out monster numbers. You can't blame the rest and travel back-to-back. They had a day in between. They played late in the evening, the more rest. They got themselves a shoot-around. So it was very hard for me to give them kind of a pass. But offensively, one thing that stood out for me was just they don't have shooters. I don't, even if they made it competitive, let's say the final score was 121, 118, whatever, wasn't it so lopsided? This team didn't make Milwaukee honest on the offensive end. They don't have shooters. And it's not just this game that the Spurs lost. It's in previous games. You're seeing that defenses, all you got to do in the Spurs defensive opposing NBA team, just sag off on the shooter, seriously, because more than likely not, the Spurs are going to miss them. This team is in dire need of shooters. Do you think they should address this now, trade deadline, waiver wire, or just write out the season roll and see what the draft or free agency gives you?
I don't think that they should give away all their assets, or not give away, but trade their assets away for a shooter or two. Because I think even if you were to bring in, I'm just gonna throw a name out. The best shooter in the NBA, Steph Curry. Even if you're being Steph Curry, they're still not going to win an NBA title this season. They're not going to win an NBA title with Steph next season. So, and again, I'm just using him because to me he's the best. He's the best shooter ever in the NBA. In my opinion. So I don't think one or two shooters is going to make that big of a difference. I think you sort of play out this season. Maybe try and pick up a veteran shooter or a veteran big man to sort of help. But I think you just sort of allow this team to continue to develop. But the thing is that they have, pretty good shooters, but they're not making it easy on themselves. Like I said, they're not passing the ball, and you see a lot of one-on-one moves, and they need to give themselves easier shots. They need to pass the ball around. They need to crash the boards when they miss. I mean, I don't know how many times I've seen where they shoot a three or whatever, and they'll just stay behind the 3-point line, and it's a long rebound. And sometimes it'll come right back to them, and then their defender just turns around and it bounces right toward them. Where if they put up a three and follow up, there's a good chance they're going to get the long rebounds, but they're not. So it seems like as soon as they shoot it, they're either standing still or they're heading back defensively rather than trying to get that offensive rebound.
Yeah,
and I just think that they need more ball movement, more backdoor cuts, more passing, more movement without the ball. Just to make it easier on themselves, because I think the low shooting numbers also has a lot to do with some of the shot selections. I mean, it's going to be tough to drive into a lane with Giannis or whoever or Joker in there trying to get a shot off of him and your defender.
Yeah. And it's not just shooting overall, it's also 3-point shooting. The Spurs went 18 for 52 versus the Bucks, 34%, while the Bucks went 19 for 42. Now, again, this is a 3-point happy league. It is. This is a league where if you're not knocking down threes, you're likely not going to win. I remember back in the day, Raul, it was defense wins championships, wins games. Now it's 3 points wins championships and games. And the Spurs don't have that. And that was evident versus the Bucks. You had Brook Lopez knocking down threes like they were layups. You had, I don't know, some guy coming off the bench for the Bucks. Let me try I can pull up his name here. He was a G League guy. Yeah, AJ Green. He comes out 5 for 9 shooting from the field against San Antonio. He goes 4 for 7 from the 3 line. Gary Trent Jr. 4 for 4. Brook Lopez 5 for 11. Lillard 4 for 7. So then you look at the other side of the Spurs on the 3-point shooting. Your one who made the most makes was Chris Paul, your veteran, 5 for 6, and then Devin Vassell goes 3 for 9. So you don't have that outside threat. And I'm going to talk about this more later on the show, but this is not Chris Paul and Harrison Barnes' team. They're not going to be here for the long haul. It's Devin's if he's still here. It's Keldon, it's Victor, it's Castle, it's those guys, and they have not stepped up in the last few games. Look, and I want to say this right now. Offensively, I think that's their biggest issue right now. Because remember early in the season, Raul, it was, the Spurs are struggling, but the defense is going to do well. Now you're starting to see that kind of even out now. Now it doesn't seem like they're clicking on either end of the court. How much do you assess that was an absence of Jeremy Sochan last night, last night versus the Bucks?
I think not having Jeremy out there definitely hurts them. But there's been games lately when Jeremy has played and they still look a little lost out there. Kind of watching the last few, ever since they got healthy, rotations have been shifting, and it seems like they're trying to get Wemby in as much as possible. So you're seeing Wemby out there with different combinations, and there's times he's out there with, Castle coming off the bench, Keldon, Julian, it's like he's out there with essentially the second unit. And there's times when, he's out of there and you'll see the kind of the starters with, whether they go with the smaller lineup or maybe Bassey's out there with them. Mm-hmm. But, I'm kind of wondering, if maybe that's impacted them, maybe like, they're still kind of figured out their rotations or, just keep the starters out there, let them go at it, let the second unit go out there and, do what they can do. But it seems like, to me, it just seems like when you introduce that many different rotations and kind of alter their minutes or whatever, it doesn't seem like it's clicking right now. It seems like everyone's still trying to figure out, well, what is my role, when Wemby's out here? What is my role when he's off the court? Rather than just going, hey, I'm going out there like Julian. Julian's, I know he had a bad game left, but usually he goes out there, I'm going to go shoot threes. I don't care who's out there. But it seems with some of the other guys, it seems like they're not quite sure, what their role is, or they're struggling to try and find a role, again, like a lot of the one-on-one moves where, I'm going to get the ball. As soon as I get the ball, I'm going to try and, score no matter what, no matter who's on me. So rather than let's work the ball around, let's try and find our shot. Let's try and find our chemistry.
Mm-hmm, yeah. We're talking with Raul Dominguez of the AP Sports. One of my next had Dominguez Cinco talking about last night's Spurs loss in Milwaukee. Just got clobbered. I made it a little interesting in the third period, but, that brings up a good point, which we're going to talk about in the next segment. What else is ailing the Spurs in this 3-game losing streak? We know versus the Bucks, it was just majority of it was just offensive woes, and a lot of defense too, not depending on the 3 line, but mainly offense. But what else is hurting the Spurs in this 3-game losing skid? We'll be back again with Raul Dominguez of the AP Sports, but let's talk about Game Time. Hey, I want to talk to you about Game Time. Go to gametime.co right now. Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks. Makes getting tickets easier for your favorite live events that much better. Game Time filters out the fluff, so you only get incredible deals on great seats. You don't have to waste time searching through thousands and thousands of tickets. Hey, Game Time has it all. They have the super deal. They got seats view before you buy. They got curated deals to make it easier to find the best price on great seats, the lowest price guarantee, event cancellation protection, job loss protection. You will be pleasantly surprised with this app. Go get it right now. Game Time picks. Again, that's a curation that makes it easier to save more on sports, concerts, comedy, theater. Hey, they have the lowest price guarantee, or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Game Time ticket coverage. Your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It is game time. Today's episode is brought to you by Rocket RX. If you're ready to boost your confidence and take control of the bedroom, Rocket RX has a solution. Imagine feeling more prepared and performing at your best. Rocket RX makes it simple and stress-free. Rocket RX offers FDA-approved treatments for erectile dysfunction at a lower cost than branded alternatives. No more uncomfortable doctor visits or pharmacy trips. Everything is delivered straight to your door in a discreet, plain packaging. With Rocket RX, you'll get trusted care from a real U.S. clinical team, complete with a quick 100% online consultation. You could get your free prescription today. Visit RocketRx.com to get started now. It only takes 2 minutes. Right now, our listeners can get 40% off your first order when you use code LOCKEDONNBA. That's RocketRx.com. Code is LOCKEDONNBA for 40% off your first order. Terms and conditions apply. RocketRx, better sex made simple.
As the new leader of the Decepticons, I command you to subscribe to Locked On Spurs with Jeff Garcia.
We're back right here on Locked On Spurs with Raul Dominguez of the AP Sports. Follow him on X at Dominguez5. Make sure you do that right now. He's feeling under the weather, so send him your well wishes and good vibes by following him and give him a good message to get better.
Good soup.
Yeah, some soup recipes. Your favorite eggs, so you can just, for us Mexicans, you can just kind of wave the egg around and maybe he'll just take it away wherever ails him. But yeah, Raul, the Spurs are on a 3-game losing skid after losing to Milwaukee last night in Milwaukee. So we're looking at this 3-game losing skid. Not good. So I put up some of the numbers here at what's hurting them. So you look at the numbers, their defensive rating is holding steady somewhat. It's at 115.5. This does include the loss to Milwaukee. Good for 18th in the league. It's not bad, but it's not top. It's kind of in the middle. But get this. This is, again, why we brought up offense first. Their offensive rating, Raul, in this 3-game losing skid has plummeted to 27th overall at 105.5. That's good for a net rating of -10, which is good for 24th in the league. So you're seeing their offense slip. And the defense is going to hold steady simply because there's an alien in the Spurs uniform, and we don't know why. So it's always going to be around the middle of the pack, just if he's just on the court. But that offensive rating has plummeted. All right, so what else is ailing the Spurs in this 3-game losing skid? All right, well, they're not creating second chances for themselves. They slipped down to 20th in the league at 23.5 offensive rebounding percentage. So they're not generating those second chance points. And you're just seeing even them from other defensive aspects. They're 26 in the league in steal percentage, just 6.1%. So as much as the offense is falling fast, their defense is holding steady-ish. But Raul, this is offense. How do you think they can fix this outside of just passing the ball more? Dare I say, go back to what got them a good start, that original starting 5 with Castle, and then having Devin off the bench?
Yeah, I was going to say, it's. I know their offense is struggling, but they've shown that they're capable of putting up some good offensive numbers. I mean, they've shown that in the past, and I don't know if possibly going back to that starting lineup with Castle. But you and I had talked about this where I thought Castle, it should be starting. I just think Castle gives them an added dimension of another good ball handler, another guy that is great at passing. He sort of has he's sort of a developing Tony Parker point guard where he drives a lot and then he kicks out. I remember Tony was absolutely fantastic. Tony would drive and he'd, you see guys collapse and all of a sudden you see the ball just come flying out, to Manu in the corner or, whoever, at the top of the key where he would find the three-point shooters. Castle is developing that type of game. So, perhaps, he goes in there, maybe Julian goes back in the starting lineup, or even if you keep the lineups the way they are, that like they just, I don't know, like I said, there just isn't a lot of ball movement. There just isn't a lot of chemistry. Again, they're not crashing the boards after shots. They're willing to accept, just one shot, one shot or one pass. And that's not Spurs basketball. That's not what, Pop's always taught. It's not a one-on-one game. It's always the good to great shot. It's not good. It's not bad to try and make it a good shot. So
yeah. You really just what stands out of this three game we get is just the offensive rating, how bad it's gotten. The offense is just really stinking it up, whether it be the shooting, you mentioned the passing. Do they even have a mid-range game? Do they have one where I don't think even they have that on the offensive side of things? I'm afraid they just lean on Wemby too much sometimes.
Yeah, because Devin's usually the one, like you talked about this as well. Devin adds a lot to the offense with his mid-range game, but he's struggling offensively right now. So, Chris Paul brings that as well. But it seems like Chris is sort of taking it on himself to shoot more threes because the guys are struggling.
Yeah.
Right now they don't really have a mid-range game. Seemingly it's kind of either a 3-point shot or somebody driving to the rim, trying to force a layup.
And here's the other thing too. And again, we're just right now in this segment, we're just focusing only on the 3-game losing skid. So these are 3-game losing skid numbers. Raul, I'm going to run through you quarter by quarter their offensive rating during the 3-game skid. So in quarter one, they have an offensive rating of 112.2, good for 14th in the league. Not terrible, not bad. Go to the second quarter, slips a bit, 109.2 offensive rating, good for the 19th in the league. Then you see in the third quarter during the 3-game losing skid, their offense just balloons to 8th overall at an offensive rating of 132. But watch this, Raul, in the final frame, the wheels come off. Brace yourself, everybody. They are dead last in offensive rating at 77.3. It's that fourth quarter. It goes from first quarter to 14th overall, 112 offensive rating, down to 77, 30th in the league. Good for a net rating of minus 42.9. So that fourth quarter has been the Achilles heels, not just in this 3-game losing skid, but even leading up to it, but mainly in the 3-game skid. Bro, Chris Paul said it after the last loss against Chicago, saying these guys are going to get sick and tired of it, losing. He didn't say it, and Mitch Johnson didn't say the S word, soft, but they definitely alluded to it. And Chris Paul said this team doesn't have that grit to finish out games. What do you think, Raul?
Yeah, Chris would definitely know about that. He's played for so long and been a part of so many good and great teams. So, it just doesn't seem like they're when they do take a big lead, they can't close it out. When they have a bad game, they can't seem to get out of that.
Yeah.
And tonight was a bad game where sort of made a little bit of a charge there in the third quarter, but they could never work their way out of it. It just, to me, it just seemed like they didn't have a lot of spirit tonight.
Thank you. Yeah. It's like you're saying it without saying it. Lack of spirit, lack of grit from Chris Paul. I think Mitch Johnson, after the loss to Chicago, also said some about the same thing about lack of grit. So, I don't know why they shrink in the fourth quarter. Look at this. It's bad. It's 77 offensive rating in the 30th in the league in fourth quarters during the losing skid. Yikes. That's a big yikes. I don't know. I think the answer is simply just changing the lineup back to what got them the good start. Because that starting unit without Devin was tops, Raul. That it wasn't number one, but my goodness, it was like in the top 10 of the NBA for quite some time. And then, yeah, man, it's like almost like Devin came back, he got reinserted, and things kind of went off kilter, Raul. What do you think?
I think that might be part of it, but again, like I just kind of keep watching just sort of the rotations. I mean, again, it seems like Mitch is trying to get Wemby out there as much as he can, and he's putting him in with sort of different lineups, and I think maybe that hurts Wemby, maybe it hurts the team where, there's a lot to be said. To me, it seems like when you have a consistent lineup, the great Spurs teams, they had Parker and Danny Green and Duncan and, Robinson, like those guys knew each other, and then they bring in Manu late, but they were used to that. And right now it just seems like, I just feel like they're not able to build her that chemistry that you need.
Yeah.
With certain lineups.
Yeah.
And because there's times when Wemby's out there with Trey Jones and, say Trey Jones and Castle, and then there's other times, he's in there for a little bit with Chris Paul. I'd love to see, Chris out there with Wemby more. Love to see Wemby out there with Castle more. Yeah, I mean, and like what you had mentioned earlier, as far as like putting too much on Wemby, Giannis had a great game, but Giannis could also, pass it out to his teammates. His teammates were active and making shots and, moving around. And it seemed like with the Wemby, whenever he got the ball, Giannis was playing really physical with him. But I kind of kept looking around. I didn't really see any of his teammates moving. They did a lot more watching than cutting or moving.
That's a great segue. When we get back, we're going to put a wrap on this episode of Locked On Spurs, looking back at last night's loss to the Bucks. And we've been saying stuff, buzzwords right now, lack of grit, so many words, lack of killer instincts off. Well, there was a play during the game that really drew my temperature rising. You really, really got me upset. We're going to be talking about that just a few seconds. It was Raul Dominguez of the AP Sports. Follow him on X at Raul. Oh, I'm sorry. Dominguez Cinco. There we go. On X right now. And send him your well wishes. Make sure he gets better and back to 100% ASAP. But first, let's talk about the Ultimate GM.
I want to take a moment to introduce you to a brand new mobile game that I'm really excited about, Ultimate College Basketball HC. If you've ever dreamed of being a college basketball coach, this is your chance to step into those shoes. In Ultimate College Basketball HC, you control every detail of your program, from recruiting players and hiring coaching staff to overseeing training camps, handling NIL deals, and managing scholarships. It's all in your hands. And when it comes to game time, you get to draw up offensive plays and set your strategy. The way you play won't just affect your current season, it'll shape the future of your school's basketball program. It's a game that lets you feel the full weight of what it means to be a head coach and lead your team to glory. Here's a special offer for Locked On NBA listeners. Use promo code LOCKEDONCBB, that's all in caps, inside the game store to get a free boost for your program. It's a perfect way to kickstart your coaching career. To download Ultimate College Basketball HC, just visit ultimate-cbb.com or look it up on the app stores. Ultimate College Basketball HC. Begin your coaching legacy today.
I am Megatron. Do not fail me and subscribe to Locked On Spurs with Jeff Garcia.
We're back right here on Locked On Spurs with Raul Dominguez of the AP Sports. Follow him on X at Dominguez Cinco. Make sure you do that right now. We're talking about last night's loss to the Bucks. What went wrong? Now, Raul, there was a play during the game, I believe it was in the second half, that made me want to just grab my TV and throw it out the window. There was a kind of a mispass. I think tell me if you remember this. Mispass on the Bucks side. and it just started to roll away into the sidelines. And you had 4 Spurs just standing there staring at it as the ball went out. That showed me lack of hustle. You mentioned that earlier in the show, saying like a lack of spirit, or like they just missing that step, that pep in their step. If they won't even be there. That showed me a lot right there, where there was a chance for them, somebody, any of them, Keldon, whoever was on that court, there was time to go out there, grab the ball, get the ball in play, and go in transition. Instead, they just saw it leave the court while all the Bucks players were on that end of the floor with them. So, lack of spirit, lack of energy. I don't know if maybe this team is succumbing to the whole pressure to be better. Has it gotten to them? I don't think it has, but that's starting to creep into my head. Raul, do you think maybe they may have peaked too soon already this season?
I'm not sure. Really tough to say. I mean, I think one of the things that they're seeing is, teams are scouting reports are getting better on the Spurs. I mean, they know their tendency, with Pop, they always kind of knew what Pop's tendencies are, what plays he wanted, with Mitch, Mitch does things a little differently. But also Wemby, that they've seen Wemby for a year. They kind of know what he likes, what he doesn't like. They kind of know how to at least to try to defend him. But I think they also realize, hey, try and take everyone else away, and let Wemby try and beat us, and just be physical with them. I think maybe that has something to do with it. I think they're guarding them differently. They're being a little bit more. They're being more physical with the Spurs. And I think Spurs just need to adjust. Not as far as game adjustment, but just player adjustments. Playing harder. Playing more physical. Playing with a chip on their shoulder, because it seemed like when the season first started, like they had a little bit of a chip on their shoulder, like, hey, we got a good team, you got to think about us, you got to worry about us, and here lately with the fact that they're doing better, it seems like it's almost not coasting, but it's almost like, hey, we showed you that we're good, and they've took, they're put off the gas pedal, so to speak, and they're not as aggressive, they're not as enthusiastic, they're not as determined as they were earlier.
Yeah, and that's just a reflection on overall maturity. They haven't matured yet basketball wise. They haven't put together a complete game. Obviously, the last game, maybe the Clippers, that was a wire-to-wire win, but Clippers didn't even show up San Antonio. But they really haven't put together that many complete games, and that's either a lack of maturity basketball wise. I don't want to, I'm trying to stay away from the whole young thing, because I'm getting sick and tired of it already. This is not a young team. This is not like, oh, we drafted 4 rookies and we're getting them all started. Our rebuild just started. No, this is a Devin Vassell, 5-6 years already. Trey Jones, 4th year. Longest 10-year Spur, Keldon Johnson, Harrison Barnes, Chris Paul. I sure hope that those veterans are lining them up tonight or last night and getting ready for the Lakers game, because they need a swift kick in the butt. That's what I think ultimately needs to happen as this season continues. Raul, I just think they need some good old-fashioned come to Jesus talk. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it seemed like the last game, Mitch was pretty upset, and it was on the road, so I wasn't sure. I'm sure Mitch said something. I'm not sure on Mitch's temperament. I know Pop would have been screaming at them, but it seems like Wemby's getting frustrated as well. So and I know Wemby's very competitive. I'm sure Wemby says things, but I think it would also be nice, if he became even more demonstrative, because this is his team. There's no doubt this is his team, Sort of tell the guys, hey, I'll lead you to the playoff, jump on my back, but I need you fighting with me,
Yeah. And he's getting close to that already. You're starting to see him be a little bit more vocal about it. There's a good hear what Wemby had to say after the loss to Milwaukee. In a nutshell, Raul, he said that Milwaukee was the better team, they had the better players. He went on to say that they did miss Jeremy Sochan during the game. He complimented the Bucks for looking a lot better than their last meeting last season. And here's what he had to say about Jeremy Sochan. He says Jeremy helps a lot regarding them. He's talking about the Bucks, as he did last year in January. So he definitely said that. So you have a big defensive person missing there with Jeremy. The offense was struggling. Overall, Wemby was not a happy camper. He says we should have imposed our physicality earlier because the team play like that, the Bucks. That's what it is like to play in the NBA. So he said, there it is again. There's that word, and Raul, that word has been popping up since preseason. Lack of physicality. Popovich talked about it before he got sick. Mitch Johnson's continued to talk about it. Man, you would think that your pros and that will be the last thing on your to-do list, bringing the physicality. But Wemby said it last night. They should have imposed their physicality. They did it. What do you think about that, Raul?
Yeah, I mean, it's just something that you just have to do. I mean, it's not something that can be, taught or the thing is, the Spurs, I think, they don't have a lot of big bodies, but they have a lot of athleticism, and that's another way to impose your physicality is just by attacking teams. Using your speed, using your athleticism. Kelvin loves driving to the rim and dunking. Castle does. Devin showed it the other day. And Jeremy as well. Just sort of that. To me, physicality isn't just about just pushing people around. It just sort of overwhelming them with your physical presence. So they can use your speed, they can use their athleticism. As well as just a few bumps here and there. A few screens. I think they need to use that more rather than sort of standing around the 3-point line. And just taking a shot and then just watching it either go in or go out. Not charging after it. If they miss.
Yeah. My goodness. Well, the Spurs have a chance to regroup and get a W against the Lakers on the road. Now, for those that are wondering about the whole California Fires right now, Mitch Johnson did talk about it pre-game versus the Bucks. He did say that the Spurs, the city of Los Angeles, the NBA have not told the Spurs anything about their upcoming game on Saturday versus the Lakers. That as of this recording, it is still game on, but obviously that can change with what's going on in California and the wildfires. So just keep a note on that. But again, Raul, the Spurs do have a chance to shake what ails them out of their system. Hopefully, like you do, get that bug out of your system. Yeah. So we'll see. It's going to be a tough task, nevertheless. Raul, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, if they could, sweep those two games against the Lakers, that'd be, it would make them feel a lot better. They'd split the road series, but they also beat, really good team twice. So, two Hall of Famers with the Lakers. So, but they just need to go back to kind of the way they were, earlier in the season. Just that team that was like, hey, we're a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah. They had, to be a nerd and the shock everybody I know, but they had that eye of the tiger. They really have that eye. They haven't had that eye of the tiger in quite some time, especially during this 3-game losing skid. There's not that killer instinct, and hopefully they can find that versus the Lakers. But we'll be discussing that Laker game this Saturday as of now, on tomorrow's Locked On Spurs. Raul, I want to thank you for taking time out of your schedule and, you feeling out under the weather. Hopefully you get better. I think the next time you come on, I hope you're 100%, bro.
Yeah.
I really do.
That will be.
I hear a old wives' tale that some tequila works, so there might be a chance there, Raul. What do you think for that?
I'm a whiskey So hopefully whiskey helps too. So
Hey, well, whatever it takes, Raul, whatever, like Captain America says, whatever it takes. So if that's what it takes for you to get better right now. Raul, again, follow him on X at Dominguez Cinco. Make sure to do that right now. Hey, we're done talking. We want to hear from you. What do you think about the Spurs loss to the Bucks? We focus on the offensive end. We feel it was really that end, a little sprinkling of lack of physicality / killer instinct. But what do you think? Let us know on X by simply following the Locked On Spurs YouTube page and subscribing to the Locked On Spurs newsletter. On the YouTube side of things, click the description below. It's right there. There's the link. It says LO Spurs newsletter. Click on that. It's completely free. Do that right now. Make sure to subscribe on Ken's 5 Plus. And what else you got? iTunes, Spotify, pick a platform. We are there. Do that right now. Again, we'll be back tomorrow. Looking ahead at the Lakers game Saturday as of now and putting Steph Castle into focus with a new guest. He'll be making his first time debut on Locked On Spurs, so look forward to him tomorrow night. Not gonna let the cat out of the bag yet. But for Raul Dominguez, I am Jeff Garcia. We're gonna put a lock in this episode of Locked On Spurs.